record. So if there's anything I say or anything you say that you don't want recorded, just let me know and I'll get it edited out. Hello, I'm Anne-Marie, and today I'm joined by Lisa Butler and Dave Saunders. Dave's background, he spent time in prison, and Lisa, I believe, spent time being homeless, and then they came across the 3 principles understanding, which helped them turn their lives around. And then they met each other and fell in love and have started at BU. So I just wondered if you would mind talking to us a bit about how you came across the 3 principles, how you met, and BU. I know that's 3 questions and a lot to get through, but you can just start with that if you don't mind.
Yeah, well,
yeah, you go first.
Yeah, well, for me, I suppose my life had always been crime of one form or another. I was brought up around drugs, just always searching, never felt a part of anything, even though I had family and friends and there's always a house full of people. I just never actually felt part of anything. Found drugs at a young age, and as my drugs progressed, my crimes progressed. I went to prison at 17, got out of prison at 19, probably 10 times worse than what I went in. The drugs had changed, harder drugs. I had no fear of prison. My crimes just went from, it's hard to not to just, when I say like petty, it's not to justify and say it's any less than what I used to, but it's just, they just went to extremes. I become a product of the environment. I suppose we all are to an extent, and we take our guidance from our parents and the environment we're in. So I was in and out of prison, started earning money, like serious amounts of money. Never really appreciated it. It was just easy money. It was just, my attitude was, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So I don't make amount of money, not appreciate it, go and waste it. Just easy come, easy go. Then in 2003, my baby died on my chest, a cot death. Then like 10 days later, I hit someone, he fell over and died. I went to prison I got charged with murder on my 23rd birthday. Had PTSD, so I relived that for over 7 years. Like every night there'd be flashbacks. It was literally like my baby dying over and over and over again. I was physically scared to go to sleep, so I would lay there, and any sort of light, like a little shining light through the door, would be enough to wind me out. I'd have to tape it. I'd tape the stand, like the lights on the standby on the telly and all sorts of stuff. And I suppose I just had a death wish. I wanted to die. And before that, I'd had many years of mental health, well, ill health. Like when I found ecstasy, obviously I felt that that's why, the love that I got from the drugs, I thought that that's what I'd always been missing. So like a lot of people, it started taking ecstasy on a Friday night, then it went to Friday, Saturday, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and before you know it, well, before I knew it, I was doing it every night. I've been waking up taking it in the daytime. Then as a result, that had messed all my chemicals up in my body, and my depression will be even worse. And obviously being a macho man, you don't talk about that, or you don't even understand it. I don't think I actually thought I'm depressed. I just thought that I just felt crap and drugs would make me feel better. I don't think there's any point I actually thought I was depressed. So being in prison, my behaviour I just didn't care. You know, there's nothing anyone could do to me or for me. I was failed by the system. I was kicked out of 9 different prisons. That's 9 lots of healthcare, mental health, psychiatrists, nurses, doctors, drugs workers, and just anyone would listen. My story never changed. And it actually took a female prison officer to sit down and listen to me And she, lucky enough, she had been in the forces, and she said it sounds like you've got PTSD. Within 2 weeks, this was like 7 years. So yeah, within 2 weeks, I was assessed for it. Within a couple of months, I had treatment for it, which helped. But that sort of only out the one side of it. By 7 years, I was physically still scared to go to sleep. All the other issues that I had, all the addiction and all that sort of stuff, was still there. So for another 5 years, I think it was, I was still searching with drugs and all that, getting kicked out of prison. And it just so happens I moved out of one prison and went to HMP only, and I got caught on a visit with drugs, and the drugs workers come and see your procedure. And he said I tell you what, miss, just put me down for every course there is. If I get something, I'll get something. If not, I'll not. By this time, I put it down about between 30 and 40 different courses, all the drug courses, behaviour courses and all that sort of stuff. Most of them like up 3 or 4 times. Didn't work. But playing the system, I knew how to get out the room quick. So I just said that. It just so happens about within 10 days or something, it wasn't long, I got called up to go to be on recovery. The first session I sat there and thought, these lot are nuts. They're all hippies. I don't know what they're talking about. They're just, well, it's hard to explain. Yeah, I just thought they're just all nuts and a lot worse. I'm trying to be polite. But the second week, I literally only went back to do a drug deal. It was like that, as simple as that. That's the only reason I went back to meet someone. And with that, when you first go there, they say things like, say, at first session, if we say bring it back into the room, it's nothing personal. It's because you're talking about something else and all that. So Anna Debenham was speaking about thoughts and feelings, how we're only a thoughts neutral, basically, that we have the power to either dismiss that thought or turn it into something big. And I turned around, I watched her, and I turned around and I was talking to, I said, like, even in the room, I know where I was. I was turned around to the right to talk to the bloke next to me, and I was talking to him, and Liliana, David, bring it back into the room. But so the time I looked from there to there, I pulled that one thought down. Who the heck she's talking to? She's making me look stupid. And I just turned it into this whole thing where, like, it felt like she literally slapped me in the face. She could have just hit me in the face, kind of, and it was so powerful. I looked from Lily to the board, and something happened. And the thing is, now that I understand, I've got more of the principles, that I've always tried to put it into words, kind of for other people's benefit. Tried to I didn't know what happened. But basically, I found that space to have that fresh thought, and I realised that I had created all that feelings. Then Anna read a bit of The Missing Link, and it was just one of them things. I sat there and cried and all that sort of stuff like you do when happens. And Anna read a bit of The Missing Link, and it was one of them things. So I was walking out the room, I didn't want to go, so it was a throwaway comment. I said, "Oh, Miss, what's that book you're reading?" And she said, The Missing Link. And she said, "Yeah, I'll take it if you want it." And this was on a Thursday morning. For the next couple of days, so I knew something had happened, but I just felt a bit lighter. But I was still so entrenched in that culture, in that lifestyle. I still had lots of drugs, and I was still involved in everything. And the Saturday morning, I woke up and I was going to roll a joint. And it was literally the first book that I picked up to roll a joint on was The Missing Link. So I thought, oh, I don't know why, but it was so strange for me to read it. But I read it even, I never used to read like the what's it called, where the first bit of the book, like the introduction. I would never read the preface or introductions before in books. I'd always just jump straight into them. But I actually read that, and it says words are a metaphor and all that sort of stuff, doesn't it? And I think, thinking back now, I think that's what made me read it, because when I started reading it, is I'd read a sentence and it was like my eyes physically wouldn't leave that until I got the meaning behind it. You know, I was reading it, crying. I don't know why I was crying, but I had all these answers to questions that I didn't know that I was looking for, and I didn't know what they was. I just had all these things, like good feelings going on. And then I think that one of the main bits for me was that we're all the same, that we only basically we cover our own mental health with our negative thinking, basically. But that was, to me, was such a big thing, is that I'm not broke. I don't need fixing, because to me, I'd always thought, well, you don't understand that I'm different. I'm broke. I always mess anything up. I would always mess up. I'd always take the wrong choice and always sit there thinking, why have I done this? Or then play the blame game. And yeah, but it was such a big thing for me to realize that I wasn't broke. So then within a couple of days, I was just preaching to everyone and anyone about the missing link and Sydney Banks. And I think people thought I was a bit crazy, didn't they? Like, no, it was a bit crazy. Then one of the major things that's happened me was, like I say, I weren't very good at many things, but fighting was one of them. Then a week or so later, it was all kicking off in the wing with me, and I see the boys on the other land, and they were coming to fight, like with loads of them going to come and beat me up, basically. But instead of getting that rush of adrenaline like I would before, that excitement, really, that it was just like, I don't have to fight. It was just like that, another realization that I've been fighting my whole life, and I've been fighting the one fight that I couldn't win, because I was fighting myself mentally, so it didn't matter. Yeah, so I literally just went behind my cell door, closed my door, and just kept going back, doing more groups, being a peer mentor, and I would just preach to anyone and everyone, trying to get them on groups. And it wasn't all easy. I still messed up a few times, but I actually started to learn from my lessons. I trained to become a beyond recovery facilitator. I was the first people to do that. We done a graduation in prison, you know. Then I got released. I went on a group called Slice of Happiness for homeless people. I met Lisa there, and I opened a conference, a 3P conference, in front of 1,000 people. Then I was late on in that. Was it the next year, wasn't it? We started messaging, and we ended up getting together. It was about 16 months ago now, isn't it? So even that is, with the understanding, I found peace of mind. Like, I found all these good feelings and all this. I found, well, peace of mind, but I didn't find peace of soul, and I didn't know that. And a lot of my old habits were still there without me realizing. Like, I'd always be looking around, I'd always be aware where people was in the room, or like who's walking down the street, and all my old thinking was always there, and I didn't know. And I was in Watford, and I went back to Brighton one day on the train, and it was like, I literally got off at Brighton station, walking down the road, and I realised what I was doing. And within a couple of minutes, I actually felt tired, you know, like my head just felt so tired from all the looking around. And I don't know, it's being with Lisa, looking into her eyes, it's just, I really see, like, I found peace of soul with Lisa, and it's different. It's like the whole understanding is you're trying to explain the unexplainable, but I really see the spiritual side of the understanding now. And like, what I feel for Lisa is like, love is just like saying chocolate, you know, that's what it really means. It, like, love is not what I feel for Lisa. It is so much more than that. It's like, when I get emotional, like, we just sit there looking at each other, and I start crying. I don't know, it's just, I don't know, it's just beyond word. And that's the kind of thing that I kind of accepted. It's beyond that. It's beyond this world that, you know, like our stories are so similar in a lot of ways, but so different. And not just down to the fact that if we're all suffering, we're doing it to ourselves and all that side of it, but like our actual life stories, like even down to working on the markets as kids, like working butch, like there's so much of our stories that are similar, isn't it, in so many ways, and that. And I think when I got the when I read the Missing Link, a lot of the stuff that happened I didn't know, and it's been a lot of it like I'd have insights, and it was like, oh, that's what that was. And but being with Lisa's, being in this lockdown, it's just brought us so much closer together, and it's just brought such an ease to my life that I've really see that the oneness, like I've really seen the oneness of the understanding and nature, well, universal mind. Some people call it God. To me, it's universal mind, and I've really seen the beauty of life, isn't it? Like we sit and watch the birds. Our latest thing is gardening. You know, we watch the blue tits and the robins, and I feed the birds in the morning, and we're planting flowers at the moment, and it's just go and walk the two huskies who walk the dog. So it's just life is just what you make it, very simple. But it's that nothingness. I really am in no fault for how much of the time would you say? Like most of my day, I'm just literally in no fault. And when I do have to think, it can be something as silly as making a tea. Like I like my routine still. I like to get up I get up for everyone else. So I make Lisa's and the boys' tea. I get the teas ready, and sometimes we've got two sized teaspoons. Now, one's bigger than the other slightly, but if you do a full one, it's too much sugar. And sometimes even that, trying to think about this, how much sugar is enough to think I can't be bothered. Like I just don't realise how much thinking.
Yeah, even though I gained the understanding, I do still have quite a lot of thinking. So I got in quite a state about even doing this call, but I kind of told myself I weren't going to do it until the last minute because I just didn't want to have all the thinking about it because I get really nervous. But for me, with the understanding, well, blimey, before I've been sitting here thinking, I can't even, it's like I'm talking about somebody else. I can't even barely remember what it was like living like that. I mean, I was just severely depressed, anxious. I had been diagnosed bipolar. I hadn't really had a very nice experience of life. I'd been on medication from the age of 18. You know, looking back now, I just realised I just tortured myself with thought all the time. I was just living in the past. I was really, really anxious about my kids and thinking something was going to happen to my kids or something was going to happen to my dogs. And I just lived in a guilty feeling, really. But I met Caroline Powell from A Slice of Happiness, a school. The kids' school actually sent me on a course to control my emotions, and I met her there, and then she was doing the 3P course. Yeah, it was just amazing. I mean, I would have literally tried anything to feel better, and I don't know, I didn't really have a big moment like David, but it's like one day I just woke up and it's like I'd gone deaf, and obviously that's where I'd just gone quiet. Yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so literally what I did was I was just rejecting thought. When I look back, literally all of my thinking was just negative, or, you know, something would remind me of a situation, and then before I knew, I just literally spent the whole day stuck in bad thinking. So it's just when I stopped, it just created that space. And throughout my life, I've been addicted to something, drink, drugs. The main thing for me was drink. So even when I wasn't drinking, I was still thinking about drink. But literally everything just fell away, fell away from me. And even like with my medication, it's not like I even had to try. First thing in the morning, you know, I dive into all my medication. I can't get through the day without it. But it's like I'd forget to take it. And then, yeah, it's just like, you know, I'd forget to take my medication. It's like everything, I didn't have to try it, just literally fell away from me.
Well, that was one of the other things with me. I'd all been on meds for that 12 years, and it was like, there was no thinking I'm going to stop taking them. It's literally, it's like, oh, I've been 2 days without them. And it's like, oh, I've been a week. And yes, it's just quite strange, isn't it? That at least I tortured myself. I thought the worst of everything. The thing is, we have between 60 and 120,000 thoughts a day. Like a thought's neutral. If you would have said to me before this understanding, what was you thinking about yesterday? I would have probably said, like, I would have told you 5 things. When he owes me this money, I'm going to beat him up if he ain't got, then that would have been my life. Like it was just so negative, and I was just on that hamster wheel. And now with this understanding for me is so well, where actually I'm on like, we only have a feeling you're thinking, ain't you? A feeling is a thought in action. Like a feeling is your barometer, your body's way of telling you overthinking, basically. So for me now, and it's not the content, I really recognize the feeling. You know, I know that I don't have to get caught up in the content, because it's in the content that keeps you there. And simply, if a bad feeling comes in, I just let it go. And it is, for me, it's easier than, say, for Lisa, isn't it? Like, you still at times,
yeah, you can snap out of it a lot quicker, but I do get stuck in my ego a little bit.
Yeah. But it's like that, isn't it? Ego and insecurity are one and the same. They're literally 2 sides of the same coin. And it's even seeing that really helps me. And that's the thing, when you have an insight, and that's the beauty of this understanding, that you can have an insight into say thought, and think, cool, that was amazing, I couldn't possibly see no more. Then you just have another insight from the other side, and it just blows it out the window. It's like judgment. I really see how I thought everyone else was judging me, how I was judging them. So my big thing was, even with this understanding, was clothes, and I still had justifications of wearing clothes, like the designer clothes, when I'm working 3 jobs. I'm not spending my money on drinking drugs, and I didn't realise that was still one of my old habits that I had before meeting with Lisa. And like, even down to that, it's like I wear Primani now instead of Armani. You know, it's just something that George, as jeans from George, was it George from Asda jeans? They're like a tenner, and I feel it just doesn't bother me. My Armani clothes that used to mean so much to me, I'm out working in the garden like this. I'm out working in the garden with it. It's like all that sort of stuff is just fell away. I just don't care about, not how I look, but it's what I just don't. I don't think I have to do my hair to go out, or I don't care what people think of me. I don't feel, and I think the biggest thing is I don't feel the need to justify myself to anyone. You know, I don't check my phone. I don't go on it. You know, it just doesn't mean anything. The only person I want to speak to is next to me. You know, as long as it is, nothing else matters to me. You know, my family think that, what my family think? My family think that I'm mentally ill because I don't want to get caught up in all the dramas, and like I've stopped talking to them because it's just drama, and I just don't want to be a part of it. You know, we've got one life. It's a short life. You know, even if we were here for 100 years, well, you've got to be lucky. If you say you're 80, oh, this is another big thing for me. Like, if you're here till you're 80, that's a good innings, isn't it? Like, you had a good thing. But when you look at it, 80 years is nothing in the grand scheme of things. There's trees. That's our other thing. Trees is like, they're 300, 400, 500 years old. And it's just even learning about nature, isn't it? A tree grows 2.5 centimeters a year. And it's just to think like a tree can be 400 years old. If that tree could talk, you know, the tree, and another thing is like nature, isn't it? A tree's not sitting there thinking, I hope someone don't cut me down. I hope someone don't climb me. I hope someone don't pull my branches off. A tree's just a tree. It doesn't care. That's like nature, isn't it? And that's how I really see it. Like, well, I just don't care about anything. It just doesn't make sense to me to feel anything but happy. I was saying that most of the time I'm in the middle. You know, I don't feel up, I don't feel down. I'm just present. And it's being in the present, isn't it? Being in the now is that creates that space. You know, even down to sitting in the garden. One day we were sitting in the garden looking at the stars. And we went out and coming back in, it's like, how long we've been here? We could have been there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20. We'd actually been there an hour. It was just literally looking at the stars. We're not even looking at them. It was just, I was literally in no thought for that whole time. And the things I could feel the thoughts coming in, and it was just literally no thought. So it's just quite crazy.
And the ripple effect it's had on the kids. Before I gained the understanding, all 3 kids were under the hospital for anxiety related problems. And once I gained the understanding, it rippled out onto them. You know, my son was working 3 years behind. They weren't sure if he had ADHD or autism because his behaviour was so bad. My daughter was fainting a lot, and my youngest was withholding poo. And literally after I didn't realise that it was because of me being such an anxious mess that's why the children were suffering. But once I gained the understanding, then they literally all got better. Ben, still have a couple of problems with Ben, but I mean, he's working at age-related work. All of them are absolutely fine, and that was within a couple of months of gaining the understanding. And you know, Rihanna still gets a little bit nervous, but all the time we see the principals working.
But that's another thing that we've learned, isn't it? Like, we used to try and get, like, not force them, but it was talk the principles to the kids and try and that's the natural thing, isn't it? You want your loved ones, people close to you, to get the understanding to make them happy. But we've really seen that all that time and
it would actually annoy Rihanna. She would say, for God's sake, Mum, shut up all your weird stuff. And you know, she was so close to it. But then, and
the things we would stop. So if she were walking in the room, we stopped talking about what we're talking, because we talk about the principles, or not even like nature, not even the principles. It's just life. We talk about any literally probably too much, like anything and everything. But so we'll just stop that and just we'll carry on talking. So she comes in the room, we carry on talking. We watch our weird stuff on the telly. We don't know that we watch a lot of telly now. But the thing is, in the last couple of weeks, we've really seen the change, you know, since we stopped trying to
stop talking at her, and she's like taking it all in.
And just to see
as
that,
a third person, it?
And it's just to see the effect it's actually having on her.
Like even starting college, she's starting college.
Either, would she?
Normally, she would be really nervous about starting like a new school and going to college, and she said she just sees it as a fresh start, and she's not nervous. And you know, I could have cried, but you know, they're just doing amazing. And Kieran, especially since being with David, my youngest, you know, he was so quiet. He was almost like mute. Even at school, he would point out colours rather than say them. But you know, his personality's really come out, hasn't it, since being with you? I feel emotional when you talk. But
it's just, even with him in it, we don't try to teach him, and he's 6 years old, or 7. He's present, and that's the beauty of this understanding, isn't it? That our natural state of mind is serenity, is peace, is to be in the moment, is to be joyful. And he has no worries. Everything's a game. I turn literally to starting school. It's anything that is an adventure. Like literally, if you say to, well, I could get him to do anything because it's a game. He sees it as fun. It has no thinking about anything. And that's the thing, is that's our natural state of mind. That's what we all aspire to be. that's the thing is, and I really see it in it. As much as I rubbed off on him, he's rubbed off on me just as much, isn't he? And just to be present and even doing like meditations, it's things like that. We do meditations, don't we? And sometimes just not that we need to, because we know that it's just always there. Sometimes we just sit in the garden and it's just that. So I think it's got to the stage where with BU, it's kind of, well, this is the hard bit, to be honest with you, is because I want to give back and help people, but on the same token is, I think it's a lot of responsibility that if you're going to, I feel that if you're going to take people under your wing, kind of, and mentor them, that you've got to give them a certain amount of time, or you've got to be there for them when they're kind of needed, don't you, rather than kind of shut them off. And I am not so sure that, to be honest, that it's taking me away, it's given me thinking to an extent, and I don't want to have that thinking, and that's why it's hard, because for me, but I'm talking for me, like I really want to help people, but I want to be able to do it on my own terms, in the sense that I don't want to be getting messages at 2 o'clock in the morning and feel that like I have to reply. So I don't like my phone, I just don't look at. So it's just one of them things, but it's just,
I mean, we've done the site. I mean, I literally, over the past 2 years, I've written down all my insights. I'm not much of a writer, so I've shared some of my insights on there. I mean, we would like to, I mean, our dream is to one day have land, have a place to be able to do groups, isn't it, and give back like that. But in reality, at the moment, we are really struggling financially.
But even that, isn't it? Even that, because we've gone legit for the first time in our lives and like been above board, you're just kind of penalised for it.
I lost, well, because not being on the sick anymore as well. So yeah, money wise things are really, really tight. But then at the same time, I kind of, it's not bothering me, we'll probably have to get rid of the car because we can't afford to run it. We might have to go down to one mobile phone, but it's not, normally that would make me really, but it is what it is.
And that's the thing, is it, like, it's literally, is we've got food, the priorities are the kids. The kids have got everything they need. We don't need anything, it's in the sense that we don't need clothes, we don't need a car, we just don't need anything, do we?
And then if we go back to full-time work, it's like, how much time can we then put into BU? So it's hard, isn't it?
It's kind of hard, and the thing is, so obviously I'm aware the other option is to charge people, but I don't like making this understanding about money. I think this, because it's free, how can you kind of charge someone for something they've got, and I think because
we both didn't pay,
and that's the thing, we didn't pay,
and it just doesn't feel right. And I think when money's involved, it does change people.
From my personal experience, money, and Felicia, but the money side of it changes people, and it does, and I think you become a bit under pressure as well, don't you? If say you're getting funding from a certain organisation and you've got to deliver, and that's the thing, you never know if someone's going to see something. You can't make someone see something. The same person could do a course for a year and not see something, like once a week for a year and not see something. Another person could come on a course and see something within the first 5 minutes. But I think if you've got funding and stuff like that, you're kind of under pressure to deliver, and I just really don't like pressure.
No.
So it's one of them things. And obviously when we said about doing this talk with you, it was when we're still kind of a bit naive, but I suppose it was a bit naive about the whole thing, wasn't
Yeah,
we?
we'd only just so put the Facebook site on.
Yeah.
Plus, you wanted to do a lot of videos to go onto it, but I just get so nervous. I thought, I don't, you know, I want to be able to enjoy working with the principals, and if I'm going to have to get nervous every time I've got to do a video and get in my head, that didn't make sense to me. It's got to come with a good feeling. We're just kind of at a stage where we're open to anything. We obviously want to help people, but then in everyday life, you know, we don't have to be working as such with the principals. We help people with the principals every day, all the time, everybody that we come into contact with.
And that's the thing, I know I don't have to be in a group, in a room to speak to someone. I don't have to be getting paid for it and to do that. I will speak to someone random, a bit of man in B&Q, you know, like start talking not about the principals. It was one of them things I was asking him for advice and turned into a bit of joke, and the next bit I'm talking about the principals, and he's literally talking about his addiction and mental health and all that, and walking away smiling after the conversation. What more can you want? That is enough reward for me. That is, money can't put a price on that. Money cannot put a price on that, because that's real, you know. And that's what I've really seen, like real love. Like, that's why love is not, it's not a word. Love is beyond the word. What I feel for like Lisa is, it's so far beyond that it's kind of ridiculous. Oh, not ridiculous. It's just, and that's the other thing is trying to explain it. Like, I'm really trying to sit, really starting to see is, but I don't have to and explain myself. I don't have to justify why I don't want to talk to my mum. Whatever's going on, it's going on for her. That's her reality. That's hers. I'm responsible for my happiness. You know, I take my guidance from the one person that I still get very offended when I see Sydney Banks, not disrespected, because people don't do that, but it's the source, isn't it? For me, if in doubt, get Sid out. It's always going back to the source. He's the one that started this, and that's who I take my guidance from. So if there's ever anything that I feel sure about, I kind of think, what Sydney's taking it, because even when you've read the books, even intellectually, you can kind of remember the part of that, can't you? But and that's the thing, and even that, not reading it intellectually, then when you have the insight, that's all it is, isn't it? Because that happens to you now, isn't it? Because you read the books when you was in your head a few times and got absolutely nothing from the books. Then she has all these insights, and she can actually read the what is it, the front bit?
That was the preface the other day.
The preface, you can read the preface and have an insight into that then.
And I read the same books like over and over and have different insights each time. And I'm sitting there and suddenly I just look up and I've got tears, haven't I? Where,
and I'm like, oh, I've been waiting.
Yeah.
And it's just one of them.
He can like say to me different things, so he's blue in the face.
Oh, I used to get frustrated sometimes. like even feeling your thinking, for example, I would explain it in so many different ways, but then you have to wait until you see it yourself, don't you? So you can know the whole understanding intellectually, but then when you hear it, like where it touches that space inside, and you know, with this understanding, there's just more and more and more, isn't there? And that's the beauty of it. And they're like, it's just limitless.
It's just opened up life so much. I mean, even with me, I wouldn't drive anywhere because I used to be worried about getting lost. I didn't listen to music because before, music was just noise in my ears. So like finding music, traveling, even with clothes, isn't it? I wouldn't go shopping, or I hated shopping. It's literally like living a different life, isn't it? Just, camping. I would talk myself out of any situation, so I didn't do it, wouldn't I? but now we're like, you know, just no thinking. I don't care if I get lost.
It's an adventure,
Isn't it?
It's
Yeah, just and it is just what each day.
It's that oneness for us, isn't it? Just being and sitting in the woods. See, we're more of the wild campers. Even we went to a campsite last year, and it was, you got people with literally a projector telly one side that's bigger than our telly at home. You got the other side, like it was just drunken, noisy, and it's
we just like complete
quiet.
Solidarity, don't we? Just quiet peace.
And it's just kind of freeing, isn't it? So it's it's just life, isn't it? And it's about being open. You know, it's anything can happen, and it's one of them things.
Open now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're open, and the thing is, it's just it's not that we're not doing anything with BU. We are actually talking to people, and I have a regular, I think, like someone I talk to, and even that is what I like is when you're given advice, really the advice is for yourself, isn't it? So it's going over the basics, not the basics, you know, so the bits that you kind of, for me, it's always, I'm kind of thinking of my last insight. I forget some of the first ones. So when you're going over it with someone new, it's reliving, not reliving it, well, it is reliving it, it's you bringing it back to the forefront of your mind, and so it's fresh and that. So with me, with the feelings, I don't recognize the feelings that anymore for myself. So with me, when I first got the understanding, when I was mad, I would realize I was mad because my, like, out of 10, my temper would be like 9.5/10. So I recognize that real big adrenaline surge I would get. Then what happened is, as my thinking started to do, when my mood started going down, I wouldn't recognize when I was mad, but I was at a 5. Well, I was actually angry, but I wouldn't recognize them feelings. And it wasn't until Aaron Turner explained it to me, and I started to catch them feelings. So it just disappeared. But I suppose for me, being with Lisa and having this whole new insight into, like, it was just being with Lisa, it was all my insights was kind of separate, all come together. And because that was new to me, I suppose I started going in, having a lot of insecure thinking because it was new, but I didn't recognize the thinking. And that's not to say our relationship has been perfect or is perfect. We're human. We're spiritual people having a human experience, isn't it? So we kind of have our ups and downs. But the things we learn from them sometimes you have to repeat the same thing a couple of times. But we're human, isn't it? We don't beat ourselves up for that. But it's just knowing that I never intentionally try to hurt each other, isn't it? And it's one of them things. But yeah, so with me, it's kind of recognizing the feelings again when I get caught up. It doesn't happen very often, like I said, but sometimes I do get caught up. But it's just, I sit there mad. Well, nothing to do with Lisa, because obviously she's not responsible for my happiness. I took something, to be honest, sometimes, most of the time, it's something wrong. You know, she said something and I took it the wrong way, and I've started turning into something it's not. And because I don't necessarily recognize them, that I'm angry anymore, I sit with it, not for long, until I actually realize. But yeah, it's when you start to learn your feelings, that's the thing. You're only ever looking for, Sydney Banks says, isn't it? You're only ever looking for a feeling. You know, that's all you ever want in life. And even explaining, I used to say about you're only ever feeling your thinking. So if you're feeling your thinking, if you make yourself feel bad, surely if you can turn the light switch on, you can turn the light switch off. Meaning, if you make yourself feel bad, surely you can turn it off. And I've said that God knows how many times, probably hundreds of times. But one person actually heard something, like switched and changed their life after hearing that. I carried on saying it, and saying I've said it to Lisa, God knows how many times I said it to her. And I pointed to the kitchen, what's there, because I know I have no concept of time, dates, or anything like that. But I know where I was when certain things happened. I can't tell you what day it was, what time it was, or anything like that. But I know we're standing out there. Yeah, but I was trying to explain to Lisa about thoughts and feelings, and even that is when you have to think about trying to explain it a different way, you have a whole different insight because it makes you think. I've got a lighter here, and it was like a lighter, isn't it? It's not the content. If you're looking for a feeling, it's like and the other thing I used to say is, if you wouldn't put your hand in a fire because it would burn. It doesn't make sense to put your hand in a fire and burn yourself. And people kind of didn't get that. But when I was saying it all to Lisa and trying to explain it a different way, there just happened to be like a lighter by the side. So it's like, there's a lighter there. I move my hand. It's common sense. I don't hold it there and think, why is that burning? That shouldn't be burning. That doesn't make sense. Why am I hurting myself? That's getting into the content. It's just no. And that's really how I see it. It's like,
But that's how
yeah.
The light switch one, I never really heard it, but when you did that, then I really see it, didn't I? And I do that a lot.
Yeah.
I used to.
But with Lisa, she's kind of going through the same thing with the feelings, isn't it? Like, she's kind of not recognizing like the anxious feelings. She doesn't realize, for example, when it's at 2 or 3, and it's low, you just realize when it's kind of like when before we're coming in,
far gone.
she's too far gone to kind of recognize it.
Yeah, so I still have anxious days, but then afterwards I'm just so grateful. When I think, God, I lived like that every day. I mean, a couple of hours of anxiety is just exhausting, you know, let alone.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, but it's just.
Yeah, he's so present. It's annoying.
Yeah, it used to actually make her angry.
I think, guys, just never thinking.
It just doesn't make sense, does it? Just go and be present, sit in the garden, just the sunset. And that's the thing. That's what we're trying to get across to Ben, isn't it? That to be grateful, no matter what the situation, no matter what, however bad it is, there's a positive in it. And I know some people can't always see that at first, but there is. And it's in that gratefulness, being in that space is what opens up the room for fresh thought, that allows that, doesn't it? Because when you're on that hamster wheel with the negative thinking, it's spinning and spinning and spinning. But once you're grateful, it's just kind of just stops, and that's all you want. It's all everyone's looking for is happiness, isn't it? And to just know that it's one thought away. As Sidney Banks says, you only ever one thought away from happiness. You only one thought away from sadness. The secret lies in thought, and it really does. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, that's very concise, and I can't think of anything else to add or ask to complete it any more than that, unless Peter and Wendy or Omar have got anything else they'd like to say or ask.
I just wanted to say thanks for that, guys. Beautiful to finally see and speak to you, David, because I've known about you for a long time, and you, Lisa. But no, it's beautiful. Everything you say is, yeah, it's in that feeling. I struggle really hard to articulate it, to explain it to people, because you can't. It's in that feeling. But no.
Well, that's how I used to. Well, how I used to say it was like, it's like finding God. The missing link was my Bible, and I was just used to preach to everyone, and it was literally the missing link. That's the only way how I used to be able to explain it. But it comes with time, and it's one of them things, isn't it? You don't have to explain it. And well, what I really felt is trying to share is the trying to do something's hard. It's thinking, but it's trusting yourself that what comes forward is the right thing to say. And it doesn't matter if that falls on deaf ears, as long as you're speaking your truth, it's coming from there. And if it's coming from the heart, it can't help but touch the person's heart you're speaking to. To never worry about what you're saying, just trust that what's coming out is the right thing to say, even if you don't know what's coming out. If you're taught, like, it just doesn't matter, just trust that what's coming out is the right thing to say. And that's what I've learned. And also on that token, it's all right to say if you don't know, not you personally. I've really started to learn, if I don't have to talk for the sake of it, it's actually all right to say to someone, well, actually, I'm not too sure how to answer that. Can I get back to you? And that's fine. And it's about being honest. If you're speaking your truth, like, how can you, not you personally, but how could you ask me to tell you more than if I've said to you, I can't answer that? You can't expect more from that. So it's about being honest with people, and the person that you're kind of speaking to would appreciate that. Do you think so, that? Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah,
I won't.
that's absolutely perfect.
Can I say something? I was going to say, Pete, or to Dave, yeah, of course, you can't force an insight. That's forcing an answer, isn't it? You can't force an insight. And, and a lot of people will say, you don't have to have the answer, and it's, perfectly okay to say you don't have it. And you might find an hour later, 3 days later, you think, I know what it will help, I know what to say. And when it comes to sharing, it's when you stop trying. And you know what I do, and you've got it, Pete, is to just do it from love and understanding. When I'm with kids at school, I work in a school, I just it's just it just happens naturally because you care about them, and the words come out. And I just want to say, Lisa, you said you were nervous. You might have been just for a tiny bit at the beginning, but it was beautiful. It's been so beautiful listening to both of you. I have got so much from this. I work with troubled children, troubled teenagers, and I've got so much from this. It's just beautiful. Very, very beautiful. I've got a lovely feeling. Thank you both. God bless you.
Can I just say that? See, that's what my kind of passion is at the moment, is not at the moment, but in life, like with teenagers, I would really love to have land, in the sense of taking back to nature with no phones, no computers, just to be kids again, and not teach them the principles, like kind of show them in nature. And it's like problem solving. Well, like you just said, you just said trying to think of something to say and it will come to you in a couple of days. Very simply, why is a problem a problem? Because you make it one. Even for something like that, for me, if I haven't got the answer for something in a couple of minutes, I kind of just let it go, knowing that my wisdom will come up with that, because that's the intellect, isn't it? If you don't know the answer within a couple of minutes, you go up into the brain, and the brain's like a computer. You only get out what you put in, so it goes back into memories and past behaviors, looking for the answer. So it just comes forward, doesn't it?
I think what you're saying about the, having some land. I work with kids in all lessons at school, and you'll probably agree, Dave and Lisa, some lessons just don't suit kids, and some education doesn't. But the one lesson that I find is in art lessons, because it's a relaxed lesson, and that's where conversation flows. And I've always found that before I came across the understanding. And it's funny, Monday at school, the school's starting up a little garden project, and I'm going to volunteer to help, because that's the place where, that place of no fault, you're messing with a bit of soil or something, and that's where it happens. It's those golden moments.
Yeah, that's literally, we got plants yesterday. We're green fingers now. Well, a bit muddy. I don't know what it's called, green fingers, but it's just learning about that. Is just so much to life that kids just don't know about.
And also with art, my daughter took art as a GCSE, and when she first said to me she was going to take art, I thought, oh God, is that a bit of a waste of a GCSE? Because bless her, I didn't think she was particularly good at drawing, but she's taken it, and she just blows us away, doesn't she? It's like, blimey, how she kind of went from like stick men drawing to just amazing, to what she does now. And actually, I've started painting again as well. I took art at school, and then I got bullied at school, and all my artwork got slashed with a blade, and that was enough for me never to draw or paint again, where I was holding on to those memories. And literally bought all the stuff and started doing it, and but just with all sorts. I even bought some knitting needles and some wool. I've tried sewing. I've been painting furniture. Now we're doing gardening, but just so much. Whereas before I was just like an anxious mess, you know, just running around like a headless chicken. You know, I just couldn't see. And like we both love the stars and the sky, and there's just so much.
Well, we're limitless, aren't we? As human beings, we're actually limitless. The only limits that we have is what we put on ourselves. And someone that I was talking to last week, he's a teenager, and it was like, I just got so emotional at that age because they could be anything. You know, I was saying to him, like, literally, you could be a rocket scientist, you could be a doctor, you could be a solicitor, like, you've got your whole life ahead of you, and it's just, yeah, it's a shame to see that happening, isn't it? So as a teacher, I don't know if there's anything that I could do videos, or if there's any way that I could help that, if I could do videos on feelings or anger, or
because we'd even like to do children's books. It's like my family support worker, she couldn't believe the difference in from where we were to the change, and I know she did share my testimonial with some other parents that were struggling, because a lot of the time I'm proof in the pudding. Once the parents calm down and change, it ripples out onto the children. But my youngest come home with a well-being book, which we found a bit concerning, didn't we? I know it all means well, but it was actually bringing anxiety and feelings, and it was just bringing poor mental health into his consciousness, wasn't it? Where I don't think, I think whilst it might help a couple of children, not all, but we would really like to do something, you know, whether it's children's books. I would like to write a book with everything that I've written over the 2 years. We just don't really know where to start with it all, do we?
But if there's anything I could do, like a video on like temper, like anger, or just anything, it's just giving back, you know.
I think that the fact that you both have that desire and that want to do something, it will happen. It'll just, you know, it'll come about. It's just, I just think it will, you know. And the fact that the way you live in that nice, calm state of mind, it will just come about at some point. You know, you've got that desire and that hope, it will.
We have faith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just trust universal mind, got your back.
Yeah, it's always there.
Anyway, has anybody got any other questions or any other comments?
Yeah.
Yay.
What's happening, Dave?
Right.
What's happening, Lisa? Don't know you, Lisa, but me and Dave go way back.
We
go way back. Oh, bro, listen, if you know me now, I live in this. I do all my meetings in this. I do everything in this. I inspire people in this. This is the inspiring dressing gown. Yeah, trust me. But no, it's great to hear your voice, bro, man. It's like, I used to live next door to Dave, if everybody don't know, like literally next door. Do you know what I mean? And we used to chat some shit out the window sometimes. And it's like from there to now, it's just amazing to see where we've come. Do you know what I mean? Like just knowing you from the J life to like right now, it's amazing to see how we come. And
it's hard to try to put that into words, isn't it? Like that,
yeah, you can't.
It's like you're talking about someone else. It's so far away, and it's like I don't even want to talk about it even because it's not real. That's not that. I'm not that person. It's like
exactly.
It's just crazy, but
it's like from that journey to now, just discovering yourself, and everybody's doing it, and it's like you're on your path discovering yourself. And it's even what you lot are talking about now with like children and art and free. It's like that's in my blood as well. Do you know what I mean? So I can see where your vision's at, because recently, right, where I moved to, I got a basketball court just right stone's throw from my house. So I go and play basketball with the kids, man, because you know me, I love kids as well, man. And I think all 3P should be dropped in schools, and do you know what I mean, in the best way possible. So I found this kid, right, and I was talking to him for a bit, and he showed me his art. His art is banging. Do you know what I mean? And obviously me, I just want to show kids that you can make money. You can make money with your talents and with your art and that. So
Yeah, look at Paul Locke.
exactly. So I've got with this boy, and it's like, because we built an extended business off Beyond Recovery called Beyond Truth, where I want to focus it on youth work and that, and we're gonna build a comic with this guy. So we're gonna get a little comic going. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I love what you lot want to do, because it's important. Do you know what I mean? It's the next generation, and they're gonna inspire everyone else that comes along. So it's like we need to kind of focus on them mainly. Do you know what I mean? While focusing on ourselves and everyone else. But I just love that passion, man. It's good to hear.
At that age, not letting them go through what we had to go through to.
Exactly.
At that age, just think how it was for us as boys, like 14 to 18, when you think you know everything, but you know nothing. You know, you think you have to all that heartache and bullshit, like all that. You know, all unnecessary, isn't it? And it's trying to prevent, not boys as well, because I suppose it's the same for young girls. They go through their own kind of change, and it's just trying to prevent that, isn't it? And it's like you said, it's a knock-on effect, isn't it? And they're the ones that are going to really make the big difference, because they're so much smarter than us, a whole lot, without even realizing, aren't they? With the computer,
100%. social
media, and like here on a laptop, I'm like this still. Well, I don't even use it. That's why Lisa replies. But yeah, I think it's the way forward, isn't it? But it's about being open, isn't it? That's the thing, and that's the beauty of this understanding. It's not for one sector; it's for everyone. We're all the same: young, old, fat, skinny, black, white. It just doesn't discriminate. The free people, like this understanding, just does not discriminate.
100%.
Quite a big
Good hearing you, bruv.
I think that's beautiful. If there's nothing else from anybody else, I think I'll. So it was lovely talking to you both, and thanks for your time. And hopefully I'll speak to you again soon. Okay then.
Bless you both.
You
Bye-bye.
Take care. God bless. God bless.
See ya.